our guest is Dr. Kayode Esuola of the University of Lagos. And we're looking at the latest position now of ECOWAS, which is that it has cut Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, cut them some slack and said that, look, we're lifting sanctions apart from the, what they referred to as, how did they refer to those targeted sanctions? Well, I wanted to ask you, Kayode, what about the question of we must get a timetable of a return to democracy and elections? Even Guinea that hasn't said it wants to leave, as you know, they haven't been forthcoming on the question of this is our election timetable. Senegal, for instance, as you know, I think the election was supposed to have happened on Saturday. It didn't. So that whole area about being able to plan a diplomatic and indeed electoral timetable in Africa, especially our part of Africa, is that still more problematic than you would like?
Yori, beyond popular sentiment, if we put up our thinking cap, wear our rational cap, demands that ECOWAS have been making, has been making upon these countries have been demands about election and election timetable. And I ask you, Yori, the people of those countries, are they making the same demands? You need to investigate and critically note that there is a disconnect in the sense that the people of these countries are crying for insecurity, are crying for governance. ECOWAS on its own part is calling for election timetable. Are the two the same? If I had my way to make a letter available to ECOWAS, I would suggest, and this is just suggestion, of course you may not agree with me, that what ECOWAS should demand of these 4 countries is a timetable for governance, is a timetable for security of lives and property. And at the moment this can be explained to ECOWAS as a body, that this is the plan that Burkina Faso has to institute governance within the system and ensure security. And Mali does the same thing. And of course, Niger does the same thing. I think, and again I said you may not agree with me, I think that 95% of the problem is solved. But here you have ECOWAS that keeps asking for election and election timetable. Are these the problem? Is election the problem? Is election timetable the problem? How do you work against the yearnings and aspirations of the people in that country when they are demanding this, and you are calling for this and this? That is a disconnect. And it has to be addressed within the structures of ECOWAS. My view, I may be wrong.
You know, this is a very controversial aspect, this your view. It's a very controversial aspect by which, and by that I mean that, of course, we've heard people say glibly that the worst kind of democracy is better than the most benign form of autocratic government. Again, I don't know, we hear people say that kind of a thing.
I know that's a very popular slogan. We are good at sloganeering in this part of the world. Well, I don't disagree with that slogan, that the worst democracy is better than the best military dictatorship. But are the people of this country feeling the same? Yori,
that's the bottom line.
Government is about the people.
It is. I
said before, their yearnings, their aspirations, their understandings and interpretations of socio-political situation. Who are you representing? If you are saying something based on slogans, based on what you read in the textbook, based on what foreign countries are telling you. But the people on ground, who are the operators of the society, who are the citizens of the state, are saying something different. Is the government representing them like you expect democracy to represent the people? I'm afraid no. And that disconnect must be thoroughly worked upon if ECOWAS as an organization is going to make a move. As we speak, ECOWAS does not speak the opinion of the people, not the government, not the military government, the people in these three states. And I think a committee needs to be set up. It's not the first time I'm saying this. To go into these communities and engage with people on what they want. And what they claim they want is what ECOWAS should be dictating to the people. I mean, to the military governments to do, not just the sacrosanct and immutable idea of election and election timetable that were read on the pages of newspaper. Yes. I don't think it will.
It is a tacky problem, isn't it? Because indeed, what the soldiers are saying, who have taken over, is all the things that they wish that the people there wish the government that they have, now removed had been saying. They want good governance. They want improved democracy, and this. And so this is where I believe that ECOWAS is probably going to bulk a bit. Well, even if we're going to take Kayode's, theoretically.
Yori, let's call a spade a spade. The people in Niger, as well as Burkina, I told you I'm engaged in these countries very directly. I'm on ground. I interact with people. I conduct research in their universities. These people are not in any way calling for democracy. No. They are calling for security, governance, enhancement, empowerment of the people. It doesn't matter the nomenclature you give the government. If the people have all this, they will be part of the state. They will be positively disposed to the state. How do you now, as an organization, set your own agenda on the table where you are taking tea? And then the agenda will be almost diametrically opposed to the yearnings and aspirations of the people that occupy the geographical locations in this state. If there is no connection between the two, we cannot have a...
But I want to suggest, I want to suggest for your consideration that, look, if we adopt that position, might it not be said to be sort of sideways encouraging coups to take, encouraging coupists to act? Because if you look at the bottom line, which is security and good governance.
Yeah. Yori, this conversation is not about coup. It's not about military government. I made it clear before. The coup was a reaction to something. And let me tell you, military coup also tests the socio-political temperament before it operates. So just don't just come to power. They capitalize on the socio-political temperament, the polity, the temperament of the polity before they come, so that they will be legitimized. And that is why, that is what we have had almost everywhere in Africa. Remember, in the case of Nigeria, when the military took over during the Second Republic, people went to the streets to jubilate. Why? People had been hungry, people had been frustrated, and they became aggressive. So when soldiers came, it is not that they knew, it is not that they did not know that the worst military is better than what you call that slogan that you find. It's because their temporary situation was not addressed by the democratic government. Therefore, they supported any alternative to it.
Okay.
Even students in the university, in the days of military, had songs that supported the military. Maruwa Oshewoni, Maruwa Oshewoni, Awagba Soja Laye, Maruwa Oshewoni. This was a very popular song during Colonel Buba Maruwa's administration in Lagos State. That because it was you, we knew that you were positive, you progressive, and you listened to the yearnings and aspirations of the people. So what this tells you, Yori, is that the nomenclature that you call a governmental system is, for me, irrelevant, completely irrelevant.
Okay, okay. One moment, Kayode.
The way the government operates, that the people follow.
Okay. Let me bring on George, who has called in from Ikeja. Good morning to you, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the Prof.
Yes.
Uncle Yori, I've been trying to get what the professor is saying in his advocacy for military takeover. One,
he will disagree with you on that particular phraseology.
That's what I can.
He has said it.
Argument. That's what he has. That's what his argument portrays.
Okay.
But there are 2 or 3 things I was able to get from it. He wasn't very clear in his audio initially. He said the feelings of the people is what determines military takeover. That's when he was talking about people who came out in these countries to when the military took over. Then he also said that the intellectuals in the military in these 3 countries or 4 countries in Africa, that they are, the military are very intellectual. And he also said that the ECOWAS should go into these countries and be asking people what form of government they desire. Those were the points he used to portray his argument for the military takeover. Now, if the professor is saying that when people came out to support the military, that is a yardstick to saying that the majority of them are in support of the military. Where is the statistics to prove that? Don't forget, if military just takes over anywhere now, nobody has any freedom to say go back. You either accept them or they turn you down. So it's not you cannot use that emotion to say the majority of the people.
Okay, Mr. George, thank you very much. Because you've made quite a number of points in there, I think we should only give Kayode Esuola a chance to clarify.
Yori, I thank your guest, your caller, Mr. George. Again, when intellectuals give opinion, they don't expect that everybody agrees. So he holds his own view. But my point is not what he was reiterating. I am not in any way supporting military coup, or I'm not giving preference to dictatorship over democracy. I am saying, and that is very clear, that democracy is about the people. And the people must have their sentiments, yearnings, aspirations, opinions, and other things represented in the governance that they have. People determine what is democratic. People determine what is good governance. I cannot say because I'm a professor, or you say because you are a journalist, you have read a lot of books, you now impose upon people what they must take. No, it must be about the people. And that led to the suggestion that I gave that people ECOWAS should set up a committee to visit these countries and then operate on ground. What is the problem? How do you think we can solve it? What are your yearnings and aspirations as peoples of this country? If we are going back to democracy, how should it be structured? What should the priority be? You must work from that autochthonous base to be able to implement good policies and good programs for governance. Otherwise, it will snowball into something negative. The summary of it all, Yori.
But sorry, before you round up, Sir Kayode, I was going to say, what government, what legitimate government in place is really going to tolerate such a committee or a body, going around doing as you suggest?
No, Yori, it can be worked out. You invite the military institutions there to the table. They will tell you, and they have always said it, that they are supported by the people because the government before them was not doing what the people wanted. Then you then say that, can we then set up a joint committee from your part and our own part to visit the people and record their yearnings and aspirations. Nothing is lost here. And I can tell you the military government in those three countries will be readily available, and be well disposed to that suggestion. Because what they are looking for is what will ultimately represent the interest of their people. One thing we need to know about military government is that when it comes to power, it wants to leave as soon as possible. But sometimes, if not most of the times, it is very difficult for it to leave because of the fear of what happens when it leaves. If the government that comes to power through the barrel of the gun knows that I have put these structures in place and I don't see any threat on those structures based on the interests of people, it will leave. That is my opinion, and that is from experience.
But they still are using, and I'm sure this must be, even for you intellectuals, it must be a conundrum. They are using illegal means to achieve, what they think of as legality. And isn't it?
Yes, from the point of legality, yes, it is illegal. But is it only legality or the question of legitimacy? What is legal speaks to the law. What is legitimate comes from the people. How can you say a government is illegal? Well, I agree with you. Military government is illegal all over the world. But it is legitimate to the extent that people are saying that these people, this institution that is illegal, is helping us solve our problem, and we are in support of the institution. So it's a delicate balance between what is legal and what is legitimate. Yori, you may be legally married in the court and you have a certificate. If there is no legitimacy in that marriage, that legality is null and void. If the husband does not accept the wife and the wife does not accept the husband and the family is in crisis about the marriage, do you have a marriage? Even when the court says so and the paper says so, you don't have a marriage.
Okay, let me quickly squeeze in, I'm sorry, Kayode, a UK viewer. Good morning, Ade in the UK. Oh, I lost him. Really contentious ground we got to here. And for those who are perhaps intellectually inclined, we've set up a real conundrum there. Our guest, Dr. Associate Prof. Kayode Esuola, has said that, yeah, it is illegal, but then he went ahead to explain how, well, legality is a matter of the law, and then how did you explain the other one, that's a matter of the people, legitimacy or something like that. So these are the challenges and the problems here. But not to forget where we started from. ECOWAS has, lifted sanctions on the three countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger Republic. There's been happiness all around. Certainly there will be relief in Niger, where electricity is now going to be restored. Senators across the 19 states in the north have thanked the ECOWAS. They are gleeful about all of this. So it's looking positive at the moment. The next step, I suppose, is to now see how rapidly the countries engage with the offer of ECOWAS to reconsider. Or sort of well, it's not so an offer, it's a plea of the countries to reconsider, one, they're leaving ECOWAS, and I suppose by extension, forming another body. That's the last thing that ECOWAS will want. I think Kayode would wrap it up there, but ECOWAS doesn't need one of those complications that you had mentioned that will ensue if we're not careful, of another body being set up within ECOWAS countries.
Not at all, not at this time.
Okay then. So we're going to have to leave it there, but I want to thank you very much, Kayode, for coming on. You did put something about controversy on the ground, but it's food for thought. I guess a lot of people now think about that. Thank you very much. Kayode, thank you
very much.
Indeed.